All right, so this week in Pax Dei, we got a major combat patch that is fixing a lot of things with regards to combat and durability. And then we also got the first real exposition for one of the last redeemers that has not been covered yet in the lore. We're going to talk about all of that and a little bit more. So hello and welcome back, all of you amazingly professional consumers of Pax Dei and Pax Dei related content out there. I'm Altari the Professional Gamer, and this is another episode of the Pax FriDEI Review, the show where we talk about all the fun, interesting, new, and exciting information that has dropped for Pax Dei over the last week. Like I said, we got a pretty sizable update here for this past week, changing a lot of things with regards to combat, with durability, making a lot of other improvements. So we're going to talk about those patch notes, and then we will also be covering the most recent lore update. We got some more readings from our wonderful Thelonious the Scribe, and he is talking about Eleleth, one of the last redeemers actually that we didn't have much information on. So we're going to talk about all of that. I will see you first over on the patch notes. Let's get to it. All right, so here we are on Pax Dei's official Discord, and yeah, we got a new set of patch notes for the 26th of June, and this was a pretty sizable update in terms of the things that are being changed and the impact that it's going to have on your experience, especially with regards to combat. And those changes are really right here at the very front. And we have sprinting stamina costs that have been reduced by 30%, jumping stamina costs that have been reduced by 50%, mantle stamina costs have been reduced by 50%, base stamina regen has been increased by 25%, and stamina regen on wearable armor has also been increased by 90%. So massive changes to stamina and health as well. So this particular change is one that you're going to start seeing a lot of effects on, especially if you're trying to run away from people. But in terms of tanks being able to get their stamina back up from blocking and all of that, all of that is a welcome change. Now, in terms of actual content and when you're out running, this is what will actually really affect how you feel when you're playing in regards to durability. So the durability and lifetime durability on all wieldable items has been adjusted. It has been tested in a dungeon. Before the patch, you would need to take, if you were a tank, you'd probably need to take 5 to 7 shields in order to get through one pass of a temple, so the higher tier dungeons. After the patch, you only need about 1.5, maybe 2. So that's a significant decrease in the total number of shields that are required if you're tanking and doing all the things that you normally would do with a shield or a weapon for that matter. So you don't need to take 25 different melee weapons with you anymore. You'll still have to take several, but you won't need to take an unseemly number of them. In addition to that, stabs have seen their durability and lifetime durability decreased. Now, one important thing here is I don't really think stabs have been balanced appropriately when it comes to durability. I ran an entire dungeon keeping my entire team alive as a healer. I barely even had a small sliver of durability damage on my healing staff, and that is definitely something that probably will need to be addressed at some point in time. In fact, I also think that it will need to be addressed for light armor as well, in regards to typically users of light armor are not going to be in front and center of combat. So if you're trying to not lose a lot of durability, you practically will not lose any of it. I ran an entire dungeon without having to repair a single thing because I didn't get hit and I wasn't in the middle of combat, and my weapon also, as a staff, wasn't taking any durability damage either. But nevertheless, really welcome improvement for melee class users and tanks. This is going to significantly change how you feel in dungeons, especially with regards to where your durability is and how many weapons you have to bring. In addition to that, a lot of skill progression changes have been made. So the level XP requirement for combat, crafting, and harvesting skills have been reduced, especially for skills above level 20. Getting to the skill cap is intended to be challenging, but it was a little too challenging under the current system. XP earned from killing tier 2 and above enemies has increased. Solo enemies, those that don't have the skull icons next to them, now will distribute more XP when they're killed by solo players, and then the ones with the skulls next to them will still give more overall XP when engaged by a party as opposed to a solo player. Harvesting skills now give XP based on the damage caused as a percent of the total health of the tree, mineable carcass, or whatever it might be. So the tools that cause more damage will also give more XP per XP earning event. With the earlier balance, using better tools in some cases was reducing the total number of XP that you would earn from your various skills. This is no longer happening. And then the XP earned in mining, woodchopping, and skinning has been rebalanced to match the new level requirement so that the total amount of actions needed to reach skill cap has been reduced significantly compared to earlier balances. So it's good to know that they're taking the time to actually think about what those total interactions are going to be. I mean, for mainframe, they know exactly what it is. They know how much XP you get from doing various tasks, and they know how much XP in total is required to get to level 40. It's a simple math equation for them, and knowing how much time is associated with that, they can also balance it to make sure that we're spending the appropriate amount of time to get to skill cap that they are intending for our particular characters and for our experience. Carpentry progression, so they have changed where you get the new building pieces. So the new building pieces were not getting unlocked until level 39. So now lime mortar recipe difficulty has been reduced to 35, and all level 39 unlocks have been moved all the way down to level 30. So now most players who have been building at least to some degree should easily be able to make it, or not necessarily easily, but should, with a little bit of time investment, be able to make it to the point where they can use the limestone and granite pieces, which is really, really great. There are also some other fixes that came in with this particular update. One that I am particularly extremely happy about is that a keybind field has been added back to the game to the settings/keybind menu to allow players to hide their UI. Now, the only thing that is a problem with this right now, mainframe, if you are paying attention, is that when you hide the UI, it doesn't hide character names and it doesn't hide character health bars. They take up a lot of screen space. So please, please, please think of adding that maybe as a tick box or something to toggle those on and off, because those things do get in the way. Now, other areas here, damage to shields from blocking has also been reduced by 75%. So not only is the durability for weapons and other wearables decrease or getting better or more durable, but the damage to shields from blocking is also being reduced by 3/4. So that is a massive change. The Inquisitor's Captain's Rally Cry damage buff has been reduced by 80%. Searing Rage damage bonus now is correctly scaling. Imps summoned by cultists now unfortunately no longer give experience. For anyone who is out there just killing the imps over and over and over again for like 43 experience or whatever, very easy 43 experience, that is now gone. You will not be able to level up that way. I'm both thankful for it and sad for it, because I was really looking forward to seeing how cheesy that that type of leveling would actually be, but understandable why it's been taken out. The skill required for using low tier wieldables has now been correctly shown, and the skinning hardness of some animals has also been reduced. So maybe now we will be able to take out and start skinning those higher tier corrupted wolves and the like there. They also fixed multiple cases where the game is unintentionally changed the avatar movement mode to walking. That was actually a pretty annoying little thing there. And then another big one, the Aura of Life VFX should no longer stick forever and be doubly activated and then start really consuming away people's frames. However, one thing that I have noticed in all of verse 3 really is that there must be some kind of memory leak or something is going on where normally I would be seeing over 100 FPS, but when going into dungeons and doing other activities that normally I would start off at around the 100 FPS mark, they slowly and sequentially start dropping all the way down to the low 40s or sometimes even lower, down to 25 frames. And really the only fix for it is that you close the game and open it back up and it starts back fresh at around 100 frames. So there is something going on there in terms of optimization. It's also been noted multiple times that players can't see other players more than like 12 meters in front of them. And that makes it really, really disruptive in a lot of scenarios. I know I was trying to follow one of the members of the Golden Company yesterday, and they went maybe 20 feet in front of me and they completely disappeared. I couldn't see them. I looked on my map. It said they were right in front of me. They totally were not, at least visually, until I told them to wait a second. And then I finally got up close enough to them where they finally loaded in. I think those streaming distances do need to be fixed, but that is already a known issue with the developers, I believe. They also fixed a number of the recipe unlocks that were overlooked when they simplified the unlocking requirement to either rely on a skill level or a key ingredient discovery or both. They also fixed an issue where HP were not granted adequately upon respawn after death. Some item descriptions were also fixed to show the correct data instead of a bracket tag. They also fixed some localization issues, some bugs associated with crashing, and they fixed a bug where resurrecting at a shrine sometimes resulted in having 100 health instead of 1,000. So all of these were pretty solid changes. I think the biggest ones, other than on the building side, now getting access to all the limestone and granite pieces that are new with verse 3 at level 39. It's coming in at level 30. That is a massive amount of XP difference that you need to get now in order to have those unlocked. Additionally, shields have become significantly more durable. They also have had their damage significantly reduced. XP has been rebalanced yet again. I think this is going to continually be something that they're trying to look at and they're testing with, especially with a lot of players online right now, that this is something that they're looking into. And then all the wieldable durability changes, as well as the stamina and health changes that came in with this as well. Now, one thing that I do find interesting, it says stamina and health, but they really didn't mention anything other than stamina here. So I do think that there might be some health changes coming in another patch, and this was just not omitted for this particular patch too. So that's all the patch notes. We're now going to go take a look at the lore. Thelonious the Scribe has given us a description of Eleleth. There's some pretty cool information in there, maybe some stuff teasing some future content to come in game. So we're going to head over to playpaxdei.com to talk about all of that. I'll see you over there. All right, so here we are on playpaxdei.com, and here is part 4 of the last words of Thelonious the Scribe. And this one in particular is one that I've found very interesting. One, it's talking about the Age of Kingdoms, which, again, the 4 kingdoms are linked to the 4 regions, so to speak, in Pax Dei, and those are Gallia, Gothia, Iberia, and Anatolia. These are different from more of the ancient kingdoms like Atlantis and Helios, and more recent advancements, I guess, in humanity. For this in particular, we now are looking at Eleleth, and Eleleth is a cool one. I really like this one. So the main topics that we really are looking at in this particular one is the origin of Eleleth and where she came from, what she was called, and some of the things that she did during this kingdom's era in Pax Dei. And for anyone who is wondering, we actually have done several different videos covering the lore, specifically talking about the different ages and what we know about them up until this point. And the Kingdom's Age was mentioned in that. So if you are interested in it, please do go check it out. I'll link it down in the video below. But Yeah, so Eleleth is one of the many redeemers. She came after Oriel, so that makes her the seventh redeemer. She is another human redeemer. So Eleleth was born in, or was a bishop of a city called Monastir. And from there, she was doing all of the bishopy type things, but she really particularly had expertise in doing research of the bad things in the creation. So she would go out and pursue looking into all of the weird, dark, and for other lack of a better term, unsavory places in the world. And she would study the enemy and learn everything that she could. So from the ruined scrolls, wild tribes, and the silence of the Fae, she gathered broken parts of this forgotten whole. So she knew many things, from wards, potions, tattoos, glyphs, binding salts, and structures that spoke in silence. She then did many other things as well. And we actually get a couple of the attestations of what she did. One, it says she sealed the crucible of thorns, the deepest wound that was still open in the creation. It bears her mark still, and each kingdom remembered her differently. So of the four kingdoms in Anatolia, they called her Janara, or Jinn in flesh. And that, I think, is hinting at maybe to some of the adventures that she had while she was in Anatolia. Whereas in Iberia, she was called Zahariah, which is known as the Mist of the Forge. This one I find quite interesting. In fact, a couple of these have to do a little bit with smoke and fire, and that is definitely something that's interesting for her in terms of what exactly she was doing. And a lot of this is still kind of not explained. We have names and a couple of descriptions, but we don't really know exactly what she did in life to earn these beyond what is literally written right here. So we also have in Gallia, she was remembered as Claveria, or the architect of light, who had taught builders to raise arches that breathed and set glass aglow with divinity. Again, I think the glass aglow, she is kind of the redeemer that brought alchemy, it seems, as we have wards, potions, tattoos, glyphs, binding salts, and structures that spoke in silence. I think the potions aspect there, it's what Claveria did when she was in Gallia. And then we also have Gothia, where she was known as Halyaska, she who knows the Ash Song, a shaman who sang the dead to rest and bound wandering spirits with thread and breath. So a lot of this has to do with breathing and also wards, potions, and all of these various things. All of them seem to tie together into what seems to be she's kind of more of the redeemer who worked in the background. She wasn't in the limelight. She wasn't attracting attention. In fact, she was mostly trying to do the opposite. And that's where we also have several of these different orders that sprung forth as a result of her work. So from her teachings, we have the most visible order of the many, which were the Wardens of the Veil. They were builders of glyph-marked towers along ley line thresholds. I do wonder if we will be able to see some of those, or if maybe they already exist in the world now, where there are these towers along ley lines, which are the magical paths or the areas where magic is flowing. And then there's also two other orders that were mentioned: the Acolytes of the Unseen Thread, who stitched charms into cloaks and warded dreams with signs. Then the last of those were the Keepers of Hidden Light, where they didn't really engage in things. They just endured watching, but not claiming. So at some point in time during the kingdom period, there were a lot of machinations going on, political and otherwise, and there were fights that were going on in the darkest places. And the scholars of the time, which I believe would include Thelonious the scribe as well, called this period as the Silent Crusade, where things were being done, but most of the world wouldn't have known it unless you were someone who was trained and was actually looking for all of these things. And Eleleth lived through all of it, and some say she probably lived longer than she was supposed to, and no one actually ever saw her ascend. The last bit of information that we get from this is that her sepulcher lies beneath Axis Mundi in its lowest of vaults, where even the brightest candles can grow dark, or that's what they say, as it seems as though not many people have been there recently. So this is kind of one of, I feel like one of the edgiest of the Redeemers, and a really cool dichotomy to all of the other ones. I mean, we have Phaonios, who's basically an angel that's coming down and just wiping entire demon armies off the face of the map. You have Armazel, who's like this inventor, forge worker, just really cool dude who ends up getting tricked and betrayed and lured down into a dark, very dark dungeon. And then we also have other redeemers like Oriel, who's going around and making all these teachings, establishing monasteries, and I believe Eleleth is that one kind of shadow, working in the shadows, definitely keeping quiet and to herself, but doing a lot of research that's very valuable to humanity and helping in the fight against the great deceiver and all of the demons and all of the other unseen threats, and doing all of that work. So this is a really cool lore post. I am looking forward to integrating this into the rest of the lore that we have already known and established. And it's great that we're getting to go back to these. And I'm glad that we finally got some more lore from the Kingdoms era in Pax Dei. That's it that we have for today's video. I hope all of you enjoyed it. Please let me know in the comments down below if this is the type of thing that you enjoy watching. And if you haven't done so already, please do like the video, subscribe so you can be notified whenever we come out with new content, and share with any of your friends who might be interested. I look forward to sharing more of this as it comes out, and I'm sure we're going to get some more patch notes coming next week as well. So until then, I'm Altar, the Professional Gamer.